if you are becoming a vegan because of cruelty to animals, I respect that. But I see my vegan friends not having dairy but wearing leather jackets.
So back to our rapid fire. Coke or Diet Coke? Jaggery or stevia? Brown rice or white rice? Ghee or olive oil for cooking? Cardio or weight training? Sleep or workout? Cold water or hot water? Fruit or fruit juice? Eating 2 meals a day or eating every 2 hours? Ghee.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi. Every night when I go to sleep, I die. If you're undersleeping by 1 hour, it will take you 4 days to recover. Sleep increases creativity by 600%. If you make your biology work for you and not against you, you will live a lot more healthier. Lifespan is about how long you live. Health span is about how well you live.
Other thing that gets a lot of hatred online is oats.
After ghee, if I've got the most hate, it was on my Insta story that I did on oats. American Heart Association in the 70s was recommending almost 70 to 75% of your calories should come from carbs.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Rohini Patil. I'm a doctor and a nutritionist, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's podcast, we have a very special guest. You already have seen him all over the social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, and you've heard his opinions about sugar, about oats, and lots of controversial things. So we have Mr. Prashant Desai with us for today's podcast, and we are all super excited and super thrilled to discuss and demystify all these controversial things that we all have been hearing about, and there's so much confusion. So we are going to clear all of that very scientifically and clinically. So welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rohini. Thank you.
And I'm really humbled to have you here. And I really wanted to do this from a very long time. And finally, it's happening. I'm going to give you a short introduction. So he is a longevity Sherpa with a purpose of making India fitter and healthier, with focusing on increasing health span. And for that, he has taken his qualification from Stanford School of Medicine. He studied nutrition. He studied exercise physiology, gut health, and the microbiome. And he's currently training under Dr. Peter Attia's Earle and Dr. Andy Galpin's biomolecular athlete. He travels often to Europe and the USA to attend longevity seminar. In fact, I thought we were at one of the seminars together, which we were discussing, I think. So welcome.
Thank you so much. You're very kind. So really looking forward to this. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. And yes, trying to debunk some myths.
Yes, absolutely. So my very first question is, how did you get into this and how did your journey start?
It's an interesting one and a personal one, Dr. Rohini. So I lost my father when I was 7 years old to a disease of heart. I have grown up having a lot of nightmares of not being there for my daughters. Most people have fond memories of their childhood. For me, I don't even want to go back to my childhood because it was filled with a lot of pain. I used to tell people that we used to die a death from 1,000 cuts every single day as a child. Because as a child, you want things.
Right.
And when you don't have a father, we were in abject poverty. We used to get 2 pairs of clothes to wear. And we grew up in a large multi-storied building in Calcutta where you had lots of friends who you would see having access to a lot of things and we wouldn't. So I never wanted my daughters to have that childhood. So since long I've been wanting to live longer for my daughters and trying to figure out a way to do that. I knew I wanted to live, did not know how to get there. And that kind of journey took me through this. What was even more interesting and surprising was when I would meet my family members at weddings, reunions, friends, I would see how casually they would take life. And very often, when you remember somebody and somebody walks in, we say, "Arey, tu 100 saal jiyega," right? It's the normal thing that day. And you will automatically see the other person saying, "Mere ko 100 saal nahi jeena hai." I would say, ask me, I have not had a father. Why are you saying something like this that you don't want to live longer? In our ancient text, it's written, "Jug Jug Jiyo." And if you actually double click on the word Jug, one Jug is about 4.3 million years.
Right.
So our elderly want us to live longer, yet we don't, give so much of respect to life. And I tell them, they all come back with a very interesting take on life, that we have one life, live life king size. You will see them, spoiling their health over their life. And it somehow just did not resonate with me. And I could see India just going from bad to worse. So in my personal journey, started figuring out what are things that we can do today to live longer. Then the bigger mission came around, a bigger purpose came around, that why not share this with people. And that's how I went to Stanford, did my course. Because I lost my father very early, I don't believe in God.
Right.
As a result of this, you need a foundation, you need something to anchor around. And for me, that anchor became science.
Right.
Hence a Stanford, hence a Harvard, trying to learn more about the science or the biology for what happens.
Right.
And in the end, I'm a very big believer that if you make your biology work for you and not against you, you will live a lot more healthier. And if you live healthier, you will live longer.
Right.
So,
Lovely.
long answer to your first question.
Lovely. I think everyone wanted to know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, when we talk about health and fitness, is there any specific mantra that you like to follow, especially for longevity? And when we speak about longevity, fitness comes by default, being at the right weight, having the right medical and biological parameters, having the right muscle percent and fat percent and water intake and everything. But is there any specific thing that you think that it outdoes everything when following a particular mantra?
And so I always begin with whether we look at weight loss in general, whether we look at fitness. I think, how do you define all of that, right? And for me, a gentleman called George Raven in 1988-89, I think, coined this. And he was seeing in the US, there are a lot of fat or obese people who are coming.
Right.
They also, along with obesity, had a lot of other things which were common. So if you were obese or fat, they saw that blood triglyceride levels were higher, their HDL levels were lower, their fasting blood glucose was high, their blood pressure was high, their waist circumferences were high. And he kind of coined this thing called Syndrome X, and which we now today know as metabolic syndrome. So whether you look at longevity, and longevity, if you see, gets defined into two parts. Longevity is lifespan plus health span. There are two components. Right. Lifespan is what we say, the quantity of life.
Right.
Health span is the quality of life. Lifespan is about how long you live. Health span is about how well you live. Right. And what I have, learned or realized is, if you have this syndrome X or metabolic syndrome, then both of these things will suffer. So for me, if there is one thing, I would say it would be metabolic syndrome or metabolic health.
Right.
And the reason why Mr. Raven called this as Syndrome X, for him this X factor was insulin resistant. So if I have to go back and kind of put everything in one basket or all eggs, that would for me be insulin resistant.
Yeah.
And I think whether it is sleep, whether it is nutrition, whether it is exercise, whether it is gut health, all of this collectively somewhere comes and kind of takes its residence in insulin resistance. Right. Which kind of gets its precedence from what I call as glucose metabolism or our metabolic health, the way we convert energy that we get from food, which is chemical energy, into electrical energy, our mitochondrial function.
Yes.
So I think somewhere it all comes to
It's
the
all
mitochondria.
Connected. Yes.
It's all connected, absolutely.
True.
But I also wanted to ask you, what is that one factor for you when it comes to longevity, or when you talk to your clients, what is that one thing that you focus on?
So I think for me, longevity, I think over the years, it has always, been, no, this is important, no, that is important. But I think it comes down to your mind, your stress levels and your sleep, because your inflammatory levels and everything will be always governed by that. So once the backing of it, the foundation is fine, that's when you can always convert that into a healthier lifestyle, into being conscious about your gut health. Also, I see with a lot of people, they have the access to everything, to the best of the things. Still, somehow that doesn't reflect on their health and their fitness and also longevity. I think that is because somewhere the mind is not at the right place. And that reflects on your inflammatory levels and on the stress levels. And again, that boggles down into the metabolic aspects, the insulin issues and everything, because again, the insulin spikes can also be impacted strongly by stress levels.
Absolutely.
And lack of sleep, something as small as. Somehow, I want to ask you that why is not sleeping enough has been glorified so much that even today, when you have to let your child sleep a longer time, and I think that's excellent for their brain development.
Absolutely.
And, the brain grows better and it develops faster. The grasping is better with babies, I'm saying. With adults, I think that's the baseline of longevity 100%. And good health.
Absolutely.
Somehow that is not taken well in our society. Somehow when somebody comes, oh, I sleep for 5 hours and I'm so cool and I'm working so hard and I'm doing like the best of the things for myself. How to break this barrier where, there's more acceptance and more consideration for more sleep for everyone. What do you think of this?
So I think I can't even, how many times will I agree with you in every statement that you have said, because everything is so true. Because I think sleep is an image issue in our country.
Yes.
It is a societal issue.
Yeah.
And I think I like to think from first principles and you go back to the why. I think people have been wanting to ask this question, why we sleep. And Dr. Matt Walker has written exactly this entire book on why we sleep. And once you understand why we sleep, people will tend to give it more importance. Currently, until about that book came about, sleep was something which was seen as unnecessarily, right? Because we all think sleep is a passive state of mind. But the more work I have done on sleep is a very active state of mind. And I'll give you an example. So I track my sleep through this tracker called Whoop, which tracks it through the heart rate, right? Over here.
Yeah.
Now, when we are awake, today you and I are talking, so our brain waves will be like this.
Right.
They are moving in this. And we are in deep sleep. It's not like this. It's this.
Yeah.
They go off. Right. All neurons fire together.
Yeah.
It's a very active state.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we look at sleep in singular. Sleep is not singular. Sleep is plural.
Yeah.
The reason why I say sleep is plural, there is not a single metabolic function that does not get elevated because of sleep and does not get massively disoriented because of undersleep. Yes. I read a scientific study which said if you are undersleeping by 1 hour, it will take you 4 days to recover.
And what is undersleeping?
Anything less than 7 to 9 hours of sleep is undersleeping. But let's look back from an evolutionary standpoint, right? And I think everything in our lives have evolved, from the size of our brain to the size of our finger, to our feet, to our strength, to our structure. So if sleep has continued evolutionary for so many years, and not just in you and I as humans, but in animals, in birds, in ocean species, even in trees, there is a reason why Mother Nature wants us to sleep. We sleep 1/3 of our life. There has to be a massively important role that sleep plays. Until we understand what that role is, people will not give sleep its importance. You mentioned very rightly, and if you look at sleep, and because I've done so much work on sleep, if you have an infant until the age of 4 or 5, that infant sleeps for 12 to 14 hours. Well, why? There has to be some reason, and he cracked it, right? Because when you are sleeping, every organ of your body is maturing, it's growing. The moment you hit puberty, until the age of about 35, your circadian rhythm shifts.
Yes.
You will move from 12 to 14 hours of sleep to 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Your peak productivity is at midnight.
Yeah.
They will be more awake than my daughter probably does her more work at 11 and 12 p.m. than me. I sleep at 10. Yeah. Then the moment you shift, again your circadian rhythm shifts. Now the body wants to rest at between 8 and 10 p.m. Fahrenheit. And then you move to older age. Old age people will find it very difficult to sleep.
Yeah.
So they'll take 2 hours of sleep in the afternoon, somewhere in the mid. Right through the constant has been sleep is very, very important. When we sleep, we improve our learning. So every second we get 11 million bytes of information. Today you and I are talking. Every second we are getting 11 million bytes of information. But while we are talking, you and I are focusing on small things which are important to us. the brain is tagging them as we are speaking.
Right.
When you will go to sleep, in the first stage of sleep, which is called the non-REM stage of sleep, non-rapid eye movement, brain clears up this RAM.
Yeah.
It knows, oh, Dr. Rohini liked this conversation, she liked this color, she liked this food, important to her, and it puts it and stores it in a folder which you can access.
Right.
Rest all, it will put in a recycle bin.
Yeah.
Because I don't need it. For this, Dr. Rohini, this was not important. Next day morning, when you wake up, your RAM is back, you can take more information. You know, there's a beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi. He said, every night when I go to sleep, I die. Every morning when I wake up, I am a new person. That's how important.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Sleep enhances our memory.
Right.
So you have kids, they go to school.
Yes.
If they are learning something, ask them to go to sleep. When they will wake up, they'll remember more.
Absolutely.
Because sleep is the time when the brain makes connection, your memory enhances.
Right.
Sleep increases creativity by 600%.
Very true.
Your body's entire immunity, you are talking about immune system, gets a complete overhaul when we sleep.
Right.
When you sleep, your pancreas get the rest and overall, which is why if you are sleeping well, you are insulin sensitive. If you are sleeping less than 6 hours, you are insulin resistant.
Right.
Means you are sleeping less, your chances of dying from cancer increases, your chances of dying from heart attack increases. When you sleep, and I monitor because of my Whoop, my heart rate comes down. When I am because heart doesn't need to pump that much blood, right? I'm not active.
Absolutely.
When I am sleeping, my blood pressure comes down. Because my heart rate has come down, my cardiac output has come down, blood pressure is low.
Yes.
Now, when both of these are low, your heart is getting its rest. The moment you are more awake, your heart rate is high, your blood pressure is high, it's weakening your endothelial layer, chances of dying from heart attack are higher. So yeah, sleep has a very big image issue, and I think it has to culturally change.
Yeah.
HR departments of the country have to penalize people if they are napping in the afternoon, or if they are lethargic, or if they are undersleeping. I also have a challenge with our school system. Our kids wake up and go to school at 6 or 7 a.m. They are not getting their sleep. In the US now, they are planning to shift this from a
later
8 o'clock start to a 10 o'clock start.
Right.
So yeah, you touched a very, क्या बोलते हो, दुखती हुई नब्ज.
I think we have to cover the bases because sleep is the most important.
Sleep is foundational. And you are so right, Dr. Rohini, because I keep telling people, a lot of people come to me also for sometimes advice, and I tell them, first go and sleep for 8 hours for 7 days, then we talk. Otherwise, I don't
Your
want to
issues are gone with that. So for our audience, because this is a very other common problem that people have difficulty in falling asleep. Reasons can be screen time, overthinking, too much information, a lot of mental health issues. Now, whatever the reasons are for any person, if they want to fall asleep early, also it takes time to get used to that sleep cycle also. But if you just have to give 3 tips that anybody can follow for a good sleep.
More than 3. First, let's break them into people who have chronic undersleep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For them, I would say take medications.
Right. Like
Go to your
melatonin,
doctor, take a
magnesium,
melatonin. Yes,
supplementation.
please do that.
Right.
Get your body getting used to falling in sleep. Once it gets...
So it's also about habit and being patient with yourself to get into that habit.
Correct.
Right.
Coming to the other part, I have a... in pharma we say reverse engineering. It's something like that. I would tell them people, at least for 2 days, only sleep for 4 hours. Okay, so what happens when you sleep for 4 hours is you are awake for 20 hours.
20 hours.
Right?
Yeah.
If you are awake, your mitochondria is working, you are creating energy.
Right.
You know how sleep works, right? So every time, we inside our mitochondria, when you give glucose and oxygen, it converts ATP into energy. Right. ATP is adenosine triphosphate.
Yes.
What it does is ADP becomes ADP diphosphate. One phosphate is removed to convert it into energy.
Right.
While it is converting into energy, it is releasing the adenosine from that. As adenosine builds up, it's called sleep pressure. You want to fall asleep. So when you are awake for 20 hours, you are letting adenosine go up. At one point of time, your sleep pressure will be so high, you will fall asleep.
Right.
When you fall asleep, comes my first protocol. go to sleep without an alarm.
Hmm.
Then what happens? Your body doesn't know. Body will take your rest out. It will sleep for 10 hours, sometimes 11 hours. That's one. So let the sleep pressure build up. That's the first protocol or first line of protocol or treatment for people who are not sleeping. Second, sleep in an absolute dark room. Even smallest bit of light will enter through your eyeballs and disturb your sleep. So dark room, cold room becomes very, very important protocols. Third, as you rightly said, at least 1 hour prior to sleep, don't watch anything which is exciting. You like watching TV? Fine, watch, because now TVs don't emit that blue light. But don't watch a thriller or a horror which will keep your brain awake, right? Watch a rom-com if you want to. Watch comedy on that. Same thing goes with your phone. If you are scrolling, don't scroll for something which is loud, angry, stuff like that. Because that will not activate. So we have something called as a prefrontal cortex. When this gets activated, the mind feels I have to make decisions. So that way probably it will help people sleep.
Super. Now, since you're talking about insulin resistance and sensitivity, and we have spoken so much about biohacking as well, I want to ask you about fat first and how important it is. I have always been a big ghee fan, but I personally like to alternate my fat first with cold pressed coconut oil. So one day I'll be doing a ghee coffee, but other day, next day I'll be doing coconut oil and ghee coffee. Interestingly, I want to tell you, I have come up with this combination where I add MCT powders to my protein shakes.
Oh, wow, amazing.
So that my sugar lasts for longer, because sometimes protein can also give you a spike. So I am a big fan of fat first and MCTs and ghee. I want to, know your opinion about doing a fat first and not having carbs in the first half of the day. So I tell a lot of people that do not have fruits in the first half of the day, no carbs, let them come in your lunch. Breakfast has to be purely protein, fiber, fat. If you need to have a breakfast, otherwise just a fat first is good enough. So what do you think of this?
It's like me looking at a mirror. It's identical philosophy.
Right.
So one thing I think our audience needs to understand is it's a simple framework I use to explain to people. Your calories matter, right?
Yeah.
Your calories will decide your absolute weight, which you will see on a weighing scale. So whether you are overweight, obese or underweight, your calories will decide. That's the first point. But now when you double click on calories, your macronutrient come into picture, right? What are the 4 macronutrients we have? We have carbs, we have your fat, we have your protein. I also like to think alcohol as a macronutrient, right?
Okay.
Because 1 gram of alcohol is 7 calories. Yeah. So both carb has for 1 gram 4 calories, fat for 1 gram has 9 calories. Yeah. So why is this important? Because for any work that we do, our cells will need energy. We are nothing but 40 trillion cells. That's who we are.
Right.
From the time our mom and dad mated and the first time the first cell was born to 9 months the whole baby came out. If I go back and dismantle the Yamanaka factors, you come back to one single cell. Yeah. So our body is made up of trillion of cells. For anything that we want to do, I blink my eyelid, I need energy. That energy will come from the cell inside the mitochondria, which needs nutrient. Body's preferred source of fuel is glucose, which everybody knows. Our brain functions mostly on glucose. What is the other thing it functions on? It's fat. Yeah. And ketones, of course. Ketones will
fat eventually
get converted into ketones, right? So for me, I look at both carbs and fat as my fuel source, right? If this is my source for fuel, my challenge with carbs, as you rightly communicated, is when you eat carbs in excess, it also gets converted into fat. But the problem is we don't know when to stop eating carbs, right? Carb has this. It's very difficult to have 100 grams of fat versus 100 grams of carbs, right?
Yeah.
Hence, my first line of defense when I wake up in the morning is fat. Identical routine. With my black coffee, I will put 4 spoons of ghee. Yeah. I will also put my coconut oil in that, right? Nice. Then I churn it. It looks very creamy. But what it does for me, it keeps me fuller. On a fasted stomach, when I'm giving a coconut oil or MCT oil, or MCT powder, these are all on derivatives of coconut oil. It accelerates the production of ketones. which goes and gives fuel to my brain.
Right.
What our audience needs to understand is our brain, 60% of our brain is made up of fat.
Yeah.
Hence, fat is a great source for fuel. But more importantly, unlike a carb, which will give you a glucose, spike and a crash, fat keeps it constant. It's steady, which means you are fuller, which means you are satiated, which means you will not go and snack or indulge.
Right.
So your fat is my friend, carb is not my friend.
Yeah.
And, so from my point of view, I completely align with that philosophy that if you are a fat first person, I would want to do that. And I think one of the big lessons I learned in Stanford when I was doing my module on fat was fat doesn't make you fat.
Doesn't at all.
I think fat got a very bad rap thanks to this guy called Ansel Keys.
Yeah.
So in the US, what was happening is once Alexander Fleming invented penicillin, all death from infections, sanitation became better.
Right.
Then they had to figure out who's the next villain. Why are people still dying, right?
Yes.
And what they realized is a lot of people were dying from heart attack.
Right.
So back then they started doing autopsies of people. Right. And when they autopsied the heart vessels, what they saw is there was cholesterol, plaque, and within the plaque there was a cholesterol and fat deposit.
Yes.
So cholesterol is nothing but a form of fat.
Yes.
Which is where Ansel Keys very conveniently started blaming fat or cholesterol for the reason why people die. Very conveniently, he did a 22 country study. And if you are a human, you will have ego, right? And his ego was so large that he didn't want to be seen as wrong.
Right.
So what he did in the 22 studies, countries where they showed that fat does not lead to heart attacks, he conveniently deleted them and hid them.
Yeah.
So he only spoke about countries where this happened.
Right.
Including a country like Italy, where it didn't happen, but he chose a period in Italy where they were on a fasted period.
Right.
So that this problem happened. And then he started blaming within fat saturated fat. Within saturated fat, because he saw cholesterol, he started blaming cholesterol. This is where cholesterol got a bad rap, fat got a bad rap. Now, we spoke about calories, right? Let's say you are on a 2000 calorie diet. Ansel Keys comes, changes the guidelines for Americans.
Right.
Now, the American guideline says don't eat fat, eat more carbs, because you have to replace those calories with something. Right. So they said carb. American Heart Association in the 70s was recommending almost 70 to 75% of your calories should come from carbs. Bread, pasta, biscuit, cookies, fruits, fruit juice were all part of the diet.
Right.
I feel today the state of health that we are in has to do with that decision that they took.
And then there was a wave I saw, low-fat yogurts, low-fat cheese, low-fat, everything started coming. Now, talking about women's hormone, I noticed since that happened. I saw this with my parents' generation also. They would completely avoid oil and fats. There was oil-free cooking happening at our houses because of these guidelines percolating. Correct. And that resulted, those 20 years have resulted into a lot of PCOD and hormonal issues in women where these fat-soluble vitamins didn't have enough good fats to get absorbed and do their work. Also, what I've seen because of this revolution, now people don't know that there are two types of cholesterol, and the HDLs are actually cardioprotective. So 100%. They're going to protect your heart. And LDLs are not increased, which are the bad cholesterol responsible for plaque. They're increased by your sugar, your carbs, your extra carbs which are getting converted into the fat. The processed foods, that is what is going to increase your LDLs, and that is going to give you a heart attack. So now when I try telling people that the carbs will give you a heart attack and they will increase your cholesterol, but not the fats, because the fats are just working where they have to work and giving you a better HDLs. But we're talking about good fats. We are not talking about the seed oils and all. So I think that is where is very important to create awareness, because I still have people who get scared when I put ghee in their diet, when I put coconut oil in their diet, or too many nuts causes heat. That's another concept but I don't think anybody's eating like 70, 80 nuts. You just have 5 to 6 nuts. Yeah. So I think that is another misconceptions that, we have to get out of the way.
And then people, if they just think from common sense, I don't think there is. So I always say ghee is the greatest superfood. But if I have to put somebody at par with ghee, it will be coconut oil. Coconut oil, I say, is divine.
Yes.
And think of it, right? Where do coconut trees grow?
Yeah.
On the side of ocean?
Yes.
Look at the magic of that tree. It takes away all the salinity of the ocean water and gives you a coconut which is so sweet to drink. Just imagine the superpower that there is a reason why in our ancient history they are called kalpavriksha.
Yeah.
It's a wish-fulfilling tree.
Absolutely.
And the way I explain to people who come to me about coconut and coconut oil and everything coconut is it starts from the top and ends from the bottom. That's the benefit.
Yeah.
So we spoke about brain health, right?
Yeah.
So coconut has something called as medium-chain triglycerides, right?
Yeah, MCTs.
This medium-chain triglycerides is your fuel for your brain, which is why Dave Asprey created MCT oil, bulletproof coffee. Keeps your brain excited.
Right.
I keep down, I come to my thyroid. You know the importance of thyroid function both in men and in women. Absolutely. And how it completely regulates your metabolism. Coconut oil is great for your thyroid function.
Right.
I go one level down. Where do I come? I come to my heart. Yeah. Coconut oil has lauric acid.
Yeah.
Coconut oil, lauric acid is great for your heart, and whatever is good for your heart is good for your brain. Coconut oil is plant. Plant does not have cholesterol.
Yeah.
Again, benefit to your.
Yes.
Let's go further down. We come to our intestine, which is our gut. The malai from the coconut that we eat is absolutely pure magic or gold for your gut health. Yes. The moment you have a good gut, you will never suffer from a constipation or IBS. Right. So from the brain to your anus, everything gets accelerated. You want to have coconut water? Right. I don't think there is a better electrolyte drink than coconut water. Yes. Along with some sugar, it gives you so much of potassium. Yes. You want to have malai? Have malai. You want coconut shaving? You want to eat it as a snack? Eat it as a snack. You want to convert it into oil? Cook in it? Fry your banana and have your coconut wafers? And as you said, you want to put it in your oil for hair growth? Yeah. Do that. You want to put it in your skin for anti. Just it's like an all-rounder thing, yeah. Right? Think about it. Anything auspicious. Yeah. Can it begin without a coconut? No. Shreefal. Absolutely. It's a Shreefal. So much knowledge is gone in our ancient rituals as well and traditions as well. To connect now coconut with sea, something which has come down so many years through evolution has to be relevant. If coconut has remained relevant, if ghee has remained relevant. Right. And antibacterial, antimicrobial property for the gut as well. Absolutely. So many wonderful results with coconut oil in cases of IBS and IBD. It just works so well in just, even strengthening your gut, reducing the inflammation, reduces the chances of leaky gut. So I think beautiful properties. Unbelievable. Look at the fats that India has, and still we like to have our vegetable oil and seed oils. There was also a very interesting marketing campaign linked to Ansel Keys because they said fat is bad, which is where all the vegetable oil companies started putting heart. Good for your heart, good for your health. And obviously when you put that imagery and fund it with so much of marketing dollars, people's mindset will change. Sure. Which is how ghee has made an exit from our palate. Yeah. Vegetable oils have. I think it's a collective responsibility of you and I to keep talking, harping. I get most hate when I talk about ghee. Yeah. And trust me, most of the hate comes from my fellow influencers who are in the fitness world. Yeah. Because they will look at it only for its caloric value, not beyond that. And they think because ghee is saturated fat, palm oil is also saturated fat. How can you compare ghee with palm oil? Absolutely. But it is what it is. Now talking about this, other thing that gets a lot of hatred online is oats. And why is having oats, like I see this with a lot of people where there's a general mindset that from tomorrow I'm going to be healthy. They would go in a shop and buy oats. Somebody, like so many people have come and told me, I eat very healthy, my day starts with oats. Now, coming from you, why do we need to burst this myth about oats? And we being in India, we being culturally so good, we grow our own food. We have better options and better alternatives to oats.
So, and especially we coming from India, I think we need to have more trust in the food grown in our own soil. And my biggest concern with oats has been its glycemic index.
Of course.
And that reflects into glycemic load.
Yes.
So whenever I spoke about oats, a lot of health influencers started objecting that glycemic index is really old concept and glycemic load matters, but glycemic load is also reflected. Glycemic index is more important for reflecting into glycemic load as well. And the next concern of mine for oats is also the chemicals and pesticides and the preservatives that go in a packet of oats, even if you're talking about rolled oats and its digestibility and the phytates in that. We cannot even ignore the amount of phytates and anti-nutrients that it has on our digestive process. So, what is your take on this?
Look, Yara, today I'm feeling as if I'm talking to a mirror. Because after ghee, if I've got the most hate, it was on my Insta story that I did on oats. But I never say any food is good or bad, right? Yeah. I always say context is key, and dosage creates the poison. So where did this whole oat theory stem from? It all we like to go west, right? Because we have traditionally been poor. We've been a colonial country. Britishers ruled over us, so I don't have a problem for us looking west. And okay, let's look at west. And so I think the concept of oat came into our oat, cornflakes, fruit juice, bread, toast, all came into our kitchens or our homes because of West. And they also put a lot of marketing money. 150 crore Indians, largest democracy, 27% young. 27 years average age.
Right.
People will come. People will spend money too. The why for me oat is bad is, if you look at in the West, they have figured out a way to eat their oats and keep their glycemic index under control. So they either eat it with a fat, cream, yogurt. They eat lots of nuts and fruits into it. And when they eat fruit, they will not eat grapes and they will put their berries, right? They will put their citrus fruits, which are
lots of seeds.
All of that kind of brings it down. My problem with oats in India is two. I'll come to the second one first. First one, because you also spoke, is the fact that because we see oats as healthy, we have forgotten that its GI is low. So when you just take a bunch of oats, put milk, again, because we all have such bad sugar addiction, even in that oats with milk, we'll put some sugar. Now just imagine what havoc you have created, right? If we eat the way they eat, no problem. Now, as a result of this, look at what companies like Nestle have done. Maggi is bad, now I will make you eat Maggi oats. Kids are now eating that masala oats taken from a kirana store, thinking it is healthy. My biggest problem is when you market something which is so unhealthy as healthy, which gives people a statement. So for me, my biggest challenge with oats is in the way it is marketed. I'm not against it. You want to put nuts, seeds, all of that, great, eat high quality oats. I'm saying, why do I want to eat oats? I am an Indian here. You said right. You mentioned that we have better health choices. That's one area where I disagree. We have the best health choices. Just imagine, you go to any part of the country. I am a Gujarati. I believe my breakfast is the best. You are a Marathi, you will say, my Russian breakfast is the best. Go to South Indian, he will take a gun and say, my idli dosa is the best.
So much.
Any part of this country, we have such great breakfast. And it has come through ages by managing the glycemic load for us. Hardly any breakfast is standalone carbs on its own. You will have fats, you will have some form of protein. And best is it is freshly made, home cooked. Your mother or your wife takes so much of pride. There is so much of love. Why do I want to eat oats? I will any day eat my thepla with ghee. Or you may eat your misal or your sabudana khichdi. So yes, that's the sad part of reality. But it is what it is. And hence I can't change people's view. But I still tell them, make your oats healthier.
You can always do that. And if not sugar, I think they'll add a lot of bananas to oats.
Banana, they will add jaggery, they will add gourd, they will add honey, maple syrup, brown sugar, coconut sugar, palm sugar. Very interesting. I was the other day, I had to speak to a bunch of 75-year-old Gujaratis in US.
Okay.
And they asked me to choose a topic, and I chose sugar. In Gujarati, we call it shakar. And when I was doing some research, do you know sugar has 193 names?
I didn't know this.
I also did one post on LinkedIn during Ganesh Chaturthi, where everything I spoke about sugar, I started giving it different Ganpati names.
Wow.
And I said, by the way, sugar has more names than we have about Ganpati.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Lovely. Since you've spoken about oats, I want to speak to you about vegan versus vegetarian. And since you're a vegetarian, I think you can throw more light about this. And there's a lot of controversy about vegetarian and also vegan. I think vegetarian food is enough to manage your protein intake any day and to manage your micros like B12 and D and everything. But I have my doubts about vegan. So if you can speak about this.
So one, I think for all our audience, that only difference between vegetarian and vegan is you take the dairy out, right? Yeah. And again, I go back to evolutionary. Evolutionary, if you look at India or Indian culture, dairy has been a core part of our. When I did my course on the gut microbiome from Stanford, one of the things that I have learned is our gut is nothing but millions and billions and millions of bacteria, right? And there are species of bacteria.
Right.
The species of bacteria gets passed on from our parents. So one is how are you born, whether you are a normal birth or a C-section, some gut bacteria. Then who do you play with? How many people have carried you? Yeah. For us, it has all been Indian. So if you look at the gut bacteria that we've developed, I don't think Indians have a lactose intolerance. Yes. Some Indians may still have. Yeah. So if you are not a lactose intolerant person, there is no need for you to avoid dairy. Whether you look at dairy from a fat perspective, all the ghee and the butter we get, or from a protein perspective, all the whey, casein, isolate that we get, it's great. MS Dhoni used to have 2 or 3 liters of milk. Yeah. Our Pelwans used to have 1 kg of ghee. It's great for your bones, for your strength. So I will tell all Indians, please don't give dairy. Don't become a vegan. If you are becoming a vegan because of cruelty to animals, I respect that.
Right.
Veganism as a trend started because of that, because of cruelty to animals. Yes. But I see my vegan friends not having dairy but wearing leather jackets. Yeah. Going to Louis Vuitton and buying.
Absolutely.
This is not veganism, right?
Yeah.
So be vegan for the right reason.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I did a post yesterday on my Instagram where the Paris Olympics, which started yesterday, 60% of the meals they are going to serve are going to be vegan.
Wow.
They are doing this from an environment reason, from a sustainability point of view.
Right.
Whether you're a vegetarian or a vegan, as you rightly said, you have enough sources of all kinds of amino acids. Yes. But the problem with vegetarianism is the vegetarianism that I have grown up and I like to live by versus the vegetarianism that I am seeing are different. Right. The vegetarianism that I am seeing amongst my friends and their kids, they are eating 90% carbs. Yeah. If you are not eating your vegetable, if you are not eating your fruits, if you are not eating your grains, if you are not eating your nuts, you will not get the diversity of the amino acids that you need. Yes. Which is where I say animals give you great amino acid profile. Problem with animal eaters is they eat so much meat that they forget their vegetables. It will always be meat with a dollop of butter or ghee or whatever, and
less fiber.
Zero vegetable. They would eat it with potatoes. Right. So if you look at data, animal eaters have a higher incidence of dying from heart attack and stroke than vegetarians. Yeah. It has nothing to do with animals or protein. It's because of the saturated fat within animals. Yeah. Because if those animals are not grass fed, and if they have injected hormones and all, and if you cut their meat or their muscles, you will see fat over there, which is saturated fat, which is killing them. So I won't say either is good or bad, but there are myths in both that animal protein is good, animal source is good for protein, vegetarian is not. That's also a myth. Yeah. To say that, as a vegetarian, I get enough protein, no. You have to eat a diverse range of diet. Because that was one of my biggest learning at Stanford, that if you look at, we have 20 amino acids, right? 11 non-essentials, 9 essential. 9 essentials are the one that we need from our food. And every food will have different kinds of amino acids. So I tell my daughters this analogy that they play Scrabble. So if you look at Scrabble, you have alphabets, right? So if you look at your protein is the words that you form in that alphabets. But if you played Scrabble, you have a lot of A's, you have a lot of vowels, but you have very less X, Z. So there are some amino acids which are less in some food, which is why you need a diversity to get your amino acid profile. So I don't think there is a right answer, there is your answer. But biggest thing that I have seen, if you have diversity in your diet, you are good.
So I think awareness is important and diversity is also important. Yes.
What is your take, Dr. Rohini, on protein? So you mentioned about fat first, right? How do you think of protein when you talk to your clients from a nutrition advice point?
So, for me, more than calorie counting, protein counting is very important because we might see a lot of people under a lot of calorie excess or calorie deficit, but almost 90% people I meet are protein deficient because they are not even covering the amount of their body weight in protein grams, because minimum you need 1 gram per kg. And most of the people are not able to reach to that, whether it's vegetarian or non-vegetarian, both are deficient. And because of that, there are a lot of metabolic issues. There's a lot of blood sugar spike and drop that happens. And because of that, there's a feeling of always being deficient. So other than, fixing the sleep factor and the stress levels, if I just supplement with protein, also there's another misconception that you don't need a protein powder if you're not working out. If you're covering that much protein with your diet, very good. If not, you always should supplement, because I think that is the basic building block.
Absolutely.
And that being said, even just upping somebody's protein and by reducing their calories. First of all, when you increase somebody's protein, they don't feel hungry. So calorie deficit just starts from there, and it comes from your patient, comes from your client that I am not hungry. Because when every meal will have almost 70% of protein, rest 20 will have more of fiber and good fats. So there's very less space left for carbs. And a lot of people don't realize that even the protein you're having, even the fiber you're having, also has some carb by default.
Of course.
There's no pure protein that you get. Even in protein powders have a certain percentage of fat. So again, you also have to counsel a lot, telling that this protein also has some carbs. So you're by default fulfilling your carb requirement and still being, rich in protein. And protein will resolve everything. It will work on the hormonal level. It will work on insulin level. The only thing is, again, these days, the struggle we face is if you're having non-vegetarian protein, it's the antibiotics and the hormones. So I always say that, we have this word in Marathi, which is gauran, like the grass-fed and the open grazed meat and chicken or mutton you can have. Along with that, you also have to balance it out with your fiber levels. If you're a vegetarian, I always suggest take a protein powder. But that being said, not more than 20 grams, and rest you can always fulfill with your intake. So you can always have a dal, well soaked and then sprouted. There are so many sprouts which are amazing for your digestion, and also you get the complete profile. Nuts, chia seeds are excellent. So if in every meal, I always say in every meal you should look for protein. If you can just identify your protein, you don't need any awareness. So I always say don't look at calories, just count your protein and you will be sorted. Maybe initial few weeks you will be in excess calories, but I think that's fine if they're coming from protein, and eventually your other calories will go down. So I think protein is my favorite macro.
As I said today, I feel that I'm looking at a mirror in so many ways. Two, three other things that I learned, and I'll add to what you said. One, so 1 gram of protein gives you 4 calories. 1 gram of carb also gives you 4 calories. And you again go back to first principle, why we eat. Most people think we eat for energy, which is true. Of course, we eat for energy. But we also eat to maintain our structural integrity of us being humans. We spoke about health span in the beginning. If I want to live longer but healthier, and I have a list of things that I want to do at the age of 75 to 85, which I think will be my last decade. So for example, I don't want to be at my granddaughter's wedding, but I want to dance in a Sangeet, whatever is my age. I like playing golf. So I want to play golf at the age of 80. So for all of that, I have to maintain the muscle mass or muscle strength, muscle power, the bone structure. and protein gives you that. Without protein, you will not get that,
Absolutely.
right? And then you need some food for digestion, which is where your fiber comes in. Coming to second thing, unlike a fat and a carb that can be stored, protein cannot be stored.
No.
Protein will be secreted out unless you are in a famine state where protein will get converted into glucose. But the process is so taxing, body doesn't want to be in modern environment. That does not happen.
Right.
So even if you, what you said, end up eating little more protein here and there, it's going to get secreted out. It keeps you fuller, as you said, so this. But
Right.
I did a very interesting course with Dr. Gabriela Lyon. She is currently the front runner in the world when she talks about muscle. And she talks about muscle-centric medicine.
Right.
And she talks about the fact that muscle is the organ of longevity.
Right.
Earlier, they thought the largest muscle group in our body is skin. It's not skin, it is skeletal muscle. It's muscle, and within muscle, skeletal muscle plays a very important role. When you talk about insulin resistance, the only way to reduce insulin resistance and move from insulin resistance to insulin sensitivity is if you have more muscles, because muscle is your warehouse or your sink for glucose disposal. But how do you build muscle? To build muscle, first you have to break the muscle or take the muscle to fatigue, which is why people say go to the gym, do strength train. But if you are only strength training, you are only achieving the first part.
Yeah, just breaking it down.
When the muscle repair process goes, there is something called as a muscle protein synthesis that takes place. To accelerate muscle protein synthesis, you need 2.5 grams of leucine.
Right.
That leucine comes from protein chain. You can have 2.5 grams of leucine, but when you look at the labels on food, they never tell you, they will tell you it has so much of protein, but will not tell you how much of leucine does it has, right? But a protein powder box gives you that, which is why great to have.
Right.
The biggest myth which you also busted is that people who work out need protein powder. When you are in a fasted state, your muscles are ready for MPS. So even when I don't work out, I will still start my day with 30 grams. After my ghee coffee, I have given myself a 1 hour break. My breakfast is protein shake. Because I get my 25 to 27 grams of protein. Even if I have not worked out, my MPS kicks in.
Yes.
Because I am fuller from my ghee and my coconut oil, with my protein I am even fuller, I will have my first carbs after 1 or 2.
That's my routine as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As I said, today we are talking to a mirror.
Yeah, the school of thought.
Yeah, so I think for me, my opening batsman is protein.
Yeah.
And I say I keep my protein constant, then I will vary my carbs and my fats.
Yes.
But this does not change irrespective of where I am.
And I think the best part is with fat first and then breakfast being your protein shake, you're sorted with your blood sugar levels for the day.
Absolutely.
Even at night, you go and eat some dessert. I don't think you're getting the impact of it at all.
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful. And I think it's going to help a lot of people when they listen to the podcast. It's going to really change a lot of old school psychologies, even of people who have studied health, because I don't think these things are talked about in books.
Correct.
Yet. Hopefully, I think we will be changing the books and hopefully the revolution will happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I want to do a nice rapid fire. Before that, last question.
Yes.
You travel a lot.
Yes.
How do you manage your health and travel?
I think somewhere we decoded this through the podcast. So when you travel, one thing is certain that you will be eating out, right? So I make it a point that I will not have maybe one, not more than 2 meals a day out, which means when you look at travel, and let's look at travel for holidays, that's what our audience will be. The standard protocol is, because you overspent on hotel, free breakfast.
The
Wow. Then I will skip my lunch. And then I will have my dinner. So I do the reverse. Whenever I go, I will not take breakfast included in my hotels.
Right.
My breakfast is what I carry with me.
Right.
Which is my ghee coffee and my protein shake. The moment you have that, I am sorted. Now I have my lunch to go to. When I go to lunch, the first thing that I will order is a bowl of salad. Luckily, when you travel abroad, you can always order a side, which will be a salad or some sorted mushroom.
Right.
I will not touch the bread that they give you, or in India, the papad and the... As of now, I will not touch that. I like my papad, but later.
Right.
So what I do is I'll order a bowl of a salad. Now I have got my fiber. It's created that mesh. Then I will eat my normal meal.
Yes.
Right. Good thing about travel, which everybody can take advantage of it, is If you have had a slightly heavier meal and of course a dessert because you are on a holiday, walk more.
Yeah.
Anyways, when you are traveling, you will end up walking more.
Right.
That will help you manage your dinner. Though it will be out, I will reduce my quantity of dinner.
Right. Right.
But I will be hungry.
Yeah.
Why? Because I have walked so much, I have had.
Yes.
So I end my day with a protein shake.
Okay.
At
Nice. Right.
But when I am going, I plan my holiday because you know which are the places you are going to go to.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I give myself the concession that if I'm going on a holiday for 10 days, I want to remain in the zone of the protocol that we discussed. 7 days. 3 days I will indulge.
Right.
As a family, whenever we carry, there are certain things which will always be in our backpack. So we will carry our nuts, we will carry our cheese. Being a Gujarati, there will always be thepla with ghee.
Yeah.
You will carry peanuts, chana, good chana, some of those things that when you kind of feel very hungry, you end up...
Healthier options.
You will also get tempted if you are in Netherlands with the potato chips or when you are... That's okay. Once in a while, you please also eat that.
Right.
But I am not so strict when I travel. I give myself the leave.
Yeah. Lovely.
What about your travel protocol?
So I'm a foodie. So I really enjoy when I'm on travel. So travel is the time when I have my breakfast because I enjoy that breakfast. Being a non-vegetarian, I love to have the English breakfast and everything. Then I love to move to my dinner straight away. So I will stick to my 2 meals. Dinners are also, I think, being a non-vegetarian, I always, starting with a salad and then sticking to the, of course, I don't eat beef, but then I can eat eggs. There's a lot of fish, a lot of Japanese available. So me and the kids also love that. So there's very less protein. I think it's extra protein that we end up having during travel. And but then there's nothing happening in between. So I'll either have a proper breakfast and then a nicer dinner. And then walk through the day, have black coffees in between, walk a lot. And somehow with this routine, I think whenever you're sleeping well on a travel, so I've always lost weight and come back in spite of eating everything. And luckily I don't have a sweet. So there won't be any dessert or anything, maybe like just a bite if I have to have. But otherwise I think traveling is something, and I love to eat local. So if I'm going to Europe, I will eat the cheese. Yeah. I will not say no to that. Or if I'm at like Asian countries, have amazing broths and amazing seafood. So that is something I don't like to miss. So I will first look for the local food and local cuisine. My husband is also a foodie, so he'll find out what you get best where and at which restaurant. So we'll go and eat the local food over there.
Sir, one big thing I learned, I think, for our audience, and it is very different travel protocols. Also helping you achieve what you want to achieve. And I guess I am often asked this question: what is the best diet?
Yeah.
And my answer is a diet that you can adhere to.
Yes.
Right. If your consistency always trumps intensity in my mind. So I will not be too intense on a day and then 5 days a week I am liberal. No. Whatever you can adhere to. My travel routine, what I can adhere to, is very different from your, but it both work because we are consistent in that. And second thing I think I learned from this, and I again keep telling everybody, you are traveling, you will explore the city, you may sleep late, but give 8 hours of sleep. Absolutely. If you are giving 8 hours of sleep, trust me, all the pop that you've done of nutrition and overeating, you'll realize it just kind of doesn't stack up because you've given your body 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, and I think thus the state of mind is different. I think you're relaxed. So other thing is also why one diet or one routine doesn't fit all is because I think you as a person is different. Everybody as a person is different. And I have seen that if you follow a diet as a punishment with a negative mindset, it will not do good to you. You always have to eat with gratitude. You have to enjoy what is in front of you. So I will never make a plan and say this is what you have to follow. I will always ask, are you okay with this? Are you happy with it? Otherwise, you don't get the outcome that you desire, and it never reflects into their lifestyle after you're done, because you can follow a diet for a certain time. Later, you're going to go back to what you enjoy. So to make something a part of their lifestyle, it has to be agreeable and enjoyable to your client, your patient, or whoever is doing the diet. It cannot exist without that.
I'll give you a very interesting thing for all our audience. And we'll have a lot of parents also, and
Yeah.
parents want to force feed their kids, whether it is a dal or a milk or some vegetable or some animal product, egg.
Right.
And I will ask them to try this. You eat something that you don't like, right? Forget about the taste and everything.
Yes.
One very interesting thing you will notice is when you put something in the mouth that you don't like, you will not be able to chew it well. The salivary amylase that comes, it will not come. That is body's way of telling you, I will not. Now, what do you end up doing in that sense? You take a glass of water or whatever beverage, we gulp it down. So the very interesting thing, because you mentioned this, that is so important to put in mouth that you like.
Yeah.
Because all the salivary amylase that has, it is our oral bacteria, which will help break that food down as it moves down the tongue. So I keep telling parents who come, मेरा लड़का ये नहीं पीता है, मेरा लड़का ये नहीं खाता है, I said मत खिलाओ. There's no point overfeeding or force feeding something that they don't like. It is not getting them the benefits they want.
Very true, very true. Yes, so back to our rapid fire. This is going to be our last round, and it's going to be quite fun. So first part of it is going to be, I'm going to give you two not very good choices. You have to tell me still what is the best choice after that, of that. And then we are going to go with certain foods. You can comment on it with a one-liner. Okay?
I'll try my best.
So this is this or that. Your choice of preference. Coke or Diet Coke?
Diet Coke, always.
Jaggery or stevia?
Stevia.
Brown rice or white rice?
White rice.
Ghee or olive oil for cooking?
Ghee.
Cardio or weight training?
Weight training.
Sleep or workout?
Sleep.
Cold water or hot water?
Cold.
Super. I don't know why this sounds like my answers. Fruit or fruit juice?
Fruit.
Yeah. Eating 2 meals a day or eating every 2 hours?
2 meals a day.
Super. Now comment on the foods. Like in the way of good or bad. Oats.
Bad.
Oat milk.
Very bad.
Poha.
Superb.
Genetically modified foods.
Bad.
Sago, that is Shabudana.
Neutral.
Eggs.
Very good.
Fish.
Very, very good.
Seed oil.
Very, very bad.
Ghee.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah. And salt. I'm talking about table salt.
Sorry?
Table salt.
Very good.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming for this podcast. It was an honor to have you. And guys, we have covered some amazing information and something to take away for everyone in this podcast. So make sure you're liking this video, sharing it with all your loved ones, and make sure that you're commenting on it. If there's anything that you have doubts about, please put it in the comment section. We would love to get back at you and clarify your doubts. And like we always say, it's never just a diet, it's always a lifestyle. So stay healthy, stay fit, stay grateful, and stay blessed.